Yes, everyone, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. Welcome back. This is a tactical preview of how Manchester United are going to beat Chelsea this weekend at Old Trafford. It's the R5 kickoff. We're doing a watch-along for it. We're doing an extended watch-along for it, so make sure to come and join us. We will be live from 4 o'clock. Do not miss it. Thanks to today's sponsor, Edge Sports. As you can see, it is a website that provides some in-depth stats and analysis on a variety of sports, but more specifically for us, footy. On there, they have this thing called game day matchups, which you can see here. For example, United and Chelsea. So what it does is it shows the probability of who will win the game-winning chance. This is all based on their adjusted ELO model of rating every team. Also covers the game spread outcomes and the over and under outcomes. This is one of Edge's most unique tools within the site, which is a massive help to those of you who like to put on a cheeky bet before the game or even a cheeky acca. So we have an example here. If you wanted to know the probability of United to beat Chelsea by 1 goal, Edge will show you the likelihood of that actually happening. Or if you wanted to see the probability of Chelsea beating United by 2 goals, it can show you that too. Additionally, Edge can give you the probability of a game having a certain amount of goals. For example, if you think the game between United and Chelsea is going to have over 3 goals, you can see that there is a 62% chance of this happening. With the Edge rankings, you can see where the system ranks each attack and each defence, along with their strengths of schedule, so you know how easy or hard their fixtures are. And therefore, it's going to be a massive boost for those of you that like to put on a bet, and hopefully, you're going to win more often. Click the link in the description and sign up to Edge Sports. At the moment, there is a 14-day free trial, and after that, it's $9.99 a month for their football package, or only $19.99 a month for their all sports coverage, which includes American football, basketball, and more. If you like the idea of Edge Sport, then check it out using the link in the description. Use the coupon code Howson50, that's Howson50, and get 50% off. Right then, make sure you do check out their Edge Sports. The link for that is in the description. I'm going to head over to the Patreon group now. We've got some questions from our group on there. And we're having a bit of a drive for our Patreon group as well. If you're interested, support the channel. We're going to be doing extra shows and stuff like that on there as well, as we are moving into a new office very soon. So check that out if you fancy supporting the channel and you want to join a group of absolute savages and mentals. So here's some of the questions that we've got. Given Bay's inability to stay fit, how much longer do I give him before he needs to be moved on? Not much longer, to be honest. If he can't get fit this season, I think it's time, and I think that's fair. If you can't keep fit, you can't stick around, can you? It's as simple as that. Is Lampard still sore from being Solskjaer's bitch last season? On that, yes. On that, I do worry, because at some point when someone's hammered you that hard, you're going to be up all night thinking of how you stop that, aren't you? If Frank's got that in the locker, it's time to get worried, because we are due a payback from Chelsea, because we've been pretty dominant against them. Do I think I could boil down a game to who has the most shit defence? Or this game to who has the most shit defence? Their defence is worse than ours. I'd be pretty comfortable telling you that. The issue with this is we've both got good attacks, and it could go down to who's the most clinical attack, which again plays into who's got the most shit defence. Another bitch slapping incoming. I'm confident, and the next comment is 4-0 FC. I would say no, I don't think it'll be 4-0. I think we do concede in this game, but I do think we score enough to get some points on the board. Given that both teams finished 3rd and 4th last season, who's likely to finish higher than the other? I can't make a prediction like that on this season, as much of a cop-out as that definitely is. This season's going to be so topsy-turvy, so up and down, so changeable. I think that Everton could separate either of us, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be nuts. Who is Timo Werner really just a blonde Shane Long? No, I don't know what Joe was thinking when he said that. Do I think this could turn into a really boring flat game where both teams try to play on the counter and defend deep to nullify the other? Maybe. But I don't know if Frank Lampard's got it in him to do that. Who's a bigger fraud, Pep or Lamps? Ooh. I mean, it'd be mad to say Pep given what he's won, but I think he gets piped off more. I don't think Lampard's proved anything at the moment. What will I be doing and where will I be when we get battered by Frank? Well, I don't think that happens tomorrow, so couldn't tell you. What's the chances that Lamps employs Havertz wide right to exploit our issues on the left-hand side of a 4-man defence? I think he could. I don't think he will. I think he probably plays Mason Mount there and cracks on as normal. We've lost all our home games, and I think Chelsea have won all their away games this season. Not a good omen, eh? But these records always come to an end, so not overly worried. I think we'd be all right. Certain outlets are saying that United rate Greenwood the most out of him, Martial and Rashford. Ollie also stated that he's never been late to training and that he's no problem on the training ground. How key for his confidence to get a place in the lineup for the game, given the witch hunt that the media seem to be starting. I put him in my 11, and I think that I would want to see him on the pitch. That's where we want him to be making his headlines. That's where he gets onto the field and shows people what he's really about. I'm sure it's a storm in a teacup, as everything is with Manchester United. But yeah, I would agree. I honestly, I don't think he's a player that suffers with poor confidence. I think he just goes out there and does what he wants to do. So I do want to see him in the 11. I do want to see him scoring goals. How confident am I losing my pants after the game? Pretty confident. Another mistake by Zuma against Southampton. Is he the centre-back we target and press? I actually think it's Thiago Silva. And I actually think there's going to be... It's the second ball is where we look to exploit. Which manager out of the GCSE PE teacher derby will be sacked first? I think the one that does worst in this game. And I don't think this game extrapolated out means the most, but I think that you carry on from this and you'll see a trend. If United get beat at home to Chelsea, I think that there's going to be some people making some questions. And I think that United's board have made bad decisions recently and in the past. And I think that Abramovich has always got his finger just hovering above the get rid button. So, Anyone from Chelsea team I'd take to improve our 11? Yeah, Kante today. Havertz, probably. Werner, probably. Chilwell, maybe not so much now. We've got Telles. Yeah, there's plenty I would take. And Mike says, with no crowds, is there still advantage to play at home? I need to talk to a player and find out what it's been like because no one's really mentioned it. And I wonder if the Premier League have kind of been like, we're not answering them questions. No one's really come out and said, have they? They've said, oh, it's weird. But no one's really gone in depth on why is it weird, what's weird about it, etc. Right, that's the questions from the Patreon group. If you'd like to get involved in that, like I said, link is in the description. Right, so how do United beat this Chelsea team then? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chelsea. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Manchester United. Then I'm going to give you my starting 11, and I'm going to tell you how we go and do it then. So Chelsea's team then, Frank Lampard lines up in a 4-2-3-1. 6 of Chelsea's 8 games so far this season. That's what he's done. And that's across 3 different competitions. They've won 2, they've drawn 3, and they've lost 1 using that system. They've scored 17, and they've conceded 7. Now, I think Edouard Mendy is going to start in between the sticks after Lampard confirmed that he is going to be his first choice going forward. And I think Thiago Silva and Zuma is probably the likely partnership in central defence, and I do think there's a way that you can get at Thiago Silva. I don't think he is the legendary defender people think that he is, and I think there's some cause for concern from me for him anyway. And although Lampard hasn't quite yet found the perfect duo, I do think Andreas Christensen could come in for either of those two, and I actually would be more worried as a United fan if Christensen started over Thiago Silva, especially the way Chelsea play. So Azpilicueta has been the recent go-to over Reece James, who's, despite having all the hype that he's got, and I do think he's a very good player, Azpilicueta has been the guy that they're going with in the league. And obviously it's going to be Ben Chilwell providing some threat from left-back. Jorginho and Kante are the ever-presence for them in the Premier League and the Champions League as a midfield pivot, connecting defence to attack. And they've obviously got Kovacic, who can come up as a backup for either of those two. But after the early struggles and obviously the major issues that Chelsea had last year, Timo Werner as the sole striker, he's already reaping some rewards for them. Behind Werner, the summer arrival of Kai Havertz with Pulisic and Mason Mount is providing them with a pretty formidable attack, and it is a great base for them to build from. And it's a good 11. It's a good 11 with experience. It's a good 11 with some star players. And for me, the one that shines the brightest in all them, Kai Havertz. So a lot of the attacking focus has been on Werner, but for me, I think Kai Havertz has been the one that's making things tick, and that's because he drifts out wide, he plays them down the middle. Following Pulisic and Ziyech's return to fitness, Havertz has been operating in that number 10 role, acting as the main source for Chelsea's goals. He's got 4 goals in 7 this season, 6.5 goals per 90 and 138 minutes per goal, and I think that with his eye for goal, particularly from range. He's going to be a massive threat. He's got 8 shots for Chelsea so far, 88% shot accuracy and a 50% conversion rate, which is pretty deadly. He's also got an assist to his name, creating 7 chances for the different forwards that are working around him. Going forward, almost everything runs through him. He's completed 246 passes for Chelsea so far, which is the 3rd most behind Azpilicueta and Jorginho. And we all know Jorginho is just hundreds of passes per game. 86% pass accuracy for someone dealing in the final third, though, is terrifyingly good. United need to ensure that they close him down, and they need to make sure they make things really uncomfortable and really tight for him. If he's got time to work, he's going to get a shot off, or he's going to find Werner or Pulisic, and then United are in the shit. The strengths then for Chelsea, then obviously they've got a dynamic midfield. If it's Kante and if it's Jorginho, that's going to be an issue, because that's 2, if not world class, very, very, very close to world class, or at some point in their careers have been world class players. Great amount of experience, good in the Premier League. It's a nightmare. It's the sort of things that United will actually kill for, to be honest. They also have got players that love to play in different positions. They're fluid when they go forward, and they regular shift into different areas when the opportunity presents itself. Best example of this one, I would say, is between Werner and Havertz. You see Werner comes and drops deep, asks for the ball, moves his defender out of position when doing so. United definitely need to watch out for that. That's where Havertz is dangerous. That's where Werner manages to lull you into a false sense of security, and you almost need to pass him on. That's where a good number 6 will come in handy for United in this game. That's Havertz's cue usually to move into the space and receive the ball, or force the fullback central, which will create space on the wings, which moves them onto their second strength. Danger in the wide areas. 9 times out of 10, Chelsea's chances come in the wide areas, particularly from Ben Chilwell on that left-hand side. With the likes of Werner and Havertz dragging the fullbacks in towards the middle, it leaves plenty of room for the wingers and obviously Chilwell to get down on that left-hand side. Chilwell has got 3 assists so far, even scoring a goal in the 5 appearances that he's had for Chelsea. He gets plenty of the ball and has created 7 chances, which is 1.5 per 90 in his 5 appearances, showing just how often Chelsea are looking for him and how often he is able to create from those areas. If Chilwell and Pulisic are marauding down the left-hand side, Wan-Bissaka is definitely going to need support if United are going to cope with what is probably Chelsea's biggest asset, which is down that left-hand side. What's the weaknesses then? Well, for me, they don't really work well as a team. Going forward, they're good, but for me, a team is judged on how it works together off the ball. And I think United have this nailed down a lot better than Chelsea have. Chelsea have struggled to effectively press teams since Lampard took charge. Not very good at it. They work in a 4-4-2 off the ball, which means that teams are able to exploit that by putting 2 or 3 players in between the lines and either hit with long balls, go direct, or even just work it in between those lines themselves. If the Chelsea defence wins the first ball, there's not really usually a midfielder in and around them, which you wouldn't expect with Kante, but there's just gaps in and around them, so they don't often win the second ball, which leaves the opponents needing just a simple pass to enter into their final third. And we've seen this a lot with Chelsea, which is why they're conceding a crazy amount of goals. It played a major part in why they lost to Southampton last weekend, and it's an issue for them that Lampard needs to come up with, because it's a team issue and not an individual error issue. It's a system thing. There's commonly a huge space in between the defence and midfield that United, I think, could really start to operate in, especially at Old Trafford. And considering you've got Jorginho and Kante, who in your mind both have featured and been amazing as a pair of number 6s at some point in their career, and they're such good players in their own right, doesn't seem to be clicking for them as a midfield 2. And I certainly think the lack of cohesion between those two as footballers is a place where United can exploit that. The biggest problem that they have is when Chelsea attack, Jorginho and Kante are likely to get forward into advanced positions, and they are ripe for a counter. So when we was thinking, how do Manchester United play this? They play this without the ball. They allow Jorginho to have the ball. They allow Kante to have the ball, and they allow them to have the ball around the halfway line because everyone else starts to creep up around them. Similar to the last point, doing that, allowing them to come forward, it leaves their defence in very, very vulnerable positions. And if Thiago Silva's one of those, I think United are going to take the absolute piss out of him. There's been a lot of focus on Chelsea's poor defence over the last season. Signing Thiago Silva was an attempt, I think, to mitigate that. But I don't think it's down to the individuals, and I think it's down to the system. You've got to defend as a team. There's going to be bags of space in between the centre circle and the penalty box for United to work in, and if they can weather the threat that Chelsea pose going forward, which is significant, then I think they've got some optimism for a result, which is why I didn't go with the back three. I did go with a back four, but I could understand if Ollie went with a back three. Very similar to what we did in Paris, very similar to that Manchester City game at home all the way back in March, 226 days ago, I believe it was. Not that I'm counting, since we was allowed back in Old Trafford. The three could work in this instance, but here's what I've gone for. Big Dave in net, no shocks there. I did go with Wan-Bissaka, Harry, Axel, and I went with Tellez at left back. But don't be surprised if this is a back three, because the same thing would work and the same situation would work for United. I went with a midfield of Matic, because that's the positioning and that's the one that needs to hold and probably get a grip of Havertz. And I went with Pogba. But if it is a three, don't be surprised to see Fred in there over Pogba. And it'd be very interesting how Pogba reacted if that was the case. Of course, Bruno plays. I bring Mason Greenwood in on the right-hand side because I think he's served enough punishment for whatever it is that he did. Rashford on the left. And if they are going to play Thiago Silva, who better than Cavani to be running alongside him? Now, if they do go to a back three, I do expect it will be Luke Shaw in and Cavani out, and almost exactly the same, apart from you would see Greenwood and Rashford narrowed. Either of those would work, but the mentality would be the same. Allow Chelsea to have the ball, hit them with pace on the counter. Cavani's job in this role, you're going, Cavani's not quick, Steve. I know Cavani's not quick. Cavani's job in this would be to hold it, link it, allow Rashford to run, put a good ball in into the final third, ditto with Greenwood, and play. And if we've got Tellez playing, I expect there to be more threats from free kicks and corners, because that was absolutely fantastic in the week. I want to see Axel play. I'm not sure playing 2 games when he's not played in nearly a year is how it's going to go down, but it was what I would love to see. This is how Manchester United can get amongst them. This is how Manchester United can do it. You already know United can soak up that pressure and we can hit them on the counter. This is what we do against this Chelsea team. And I've ummed and ahed on this all week. I ummed and ahed. And I came up with the idea, do you know what? We have to let them play with the ball. Now, this might be difficult because I think Chelsea are going to come to Old Trafford and go, we'll let them have the ball. But I think you let them have the ball, especially Jorginho. He likes 100 or so passes a game. Let him have the ball and let's see what we can do with them on the counter. Allow that team to creep up towards the halfway line and then hit them on the counter. Because if you've got players like Greenwood and Rashford and the pace that they possess, you nullify that when a team comes up and gets the low block. And that's why United struggle against those particular sorts of teams. I'm pretty confident for that this weekend, and I think there's going to be several goals in it. And if Cavani does start, I would put money on him scoring because I think he's an absolute beast for it. That's what I reckon. Let me know in the comments how you guys think it's going to go down. Will United beat Chelsea this weekend? Did you find any of the information that I've put in different, better, whatever? It's a little bit of a new style of preview that we're doing. But let me know. Make sure to check out Edge Sports. The link for those is in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.